this say? The request is to borrow $411,000 for the athletic field lights and a second loan of up to $490,000.
We can't do the second loan, so we're going to go for the maximum one.
And what we were attempting to do is, if you look at the regulations, it says equipment and it says construction, and we were hoping to separate those two, but LGC said no, they consider it one project. Even though it's equipment in terms of lights and it's building ball fields, they consider it one lump sum project, and they won't let us do two loans. Because they think you're trying to split the money just so you don't have to go through them for approval, so they won't allow us to do
So
that.
they didn't have the money in this past year's budget to
No,
roll
we have
that.
the money. It's the liquidity is the money. Money's just there. It's how we liquid the money and how we're trying to preserve rates for working the season.
Okay, if the council wishes, the group, the finance officer and the manager, and wishes to do a motion, we will hear your motion.
I'll make that motion to allow the town manager and town finance officer to borrow funds not to exceed $500,000 for no more than a period of 2 years for the construction of an athletic field. And check for payments to be made quarterly.
I'll second that motion. Did we put the percentage in there, or do we need to?
Quarterly, did you agree on that before?
I think it was to check.
We'll check on it.
We'll check.
Check.
We're gonna
Just
do
to
liquid
check
to see if quarterly would be. We don't, we don't foresee being liquid enough to do quarterly, but we'll try and do some rough numbers, see if we could do
So
that.
you wish to take the quarterly part out of your motion?
But it was just a check on it. So
That's what he said, was just
Just
a
a
check.
check.
You said check on it.
Check.
I'm sorry. Didn't hear that. Okay, motion by Mr. Ray, second by Mr. Williams. Further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. It's unanimous. Okay, next we will have the public hearing, fiscal year 2011 operating budget. At the end of the public hearing, the council will review, comment, and discuss portion of the budget prior to any action. Chris, would you give me the list over there, the speakers list? Okay. We will open this public hearing, and speakers that wish to speak, we will ask you to come to the microphone, state your name, address, and then we will have 3 minutes per speaker for this. Okay, the public hearing is open at this time. Tom Payne.
I'm going to pass on that.
Okay.
I wasn't sure, so I'm going to sign it up.
Ms. Payne, you sign it. Gail Gunner.
I want to thank Valerie. She passed me a note here about where the ethics policy is on the website. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. We're always very helpful at the office, and you're always multitasking and doing lots of things. Thank you. I do want to thank Dina and Alicia for voting for no tax holiday last year. I think the taxpayers done
Very well.
I think the taxpayers, well, I know taxpayers appreciate it. And nothing bad happened. We had all this gloom and doom stuff, and John Ray said the only source of income was property taxes, and of course, the town has many sources of income. I don't think it's necessary to raise taxes just because you have a cash flow problem. What most people do is they cut their spending, and I think that's what needs to be looked at. You're talking about cash flow, but I looked at the budget. You budgeted We budgeted over $1 million in interest income, franchise fees, and various taxes, and ABC, and all those things. So we budgeted $1 million. It's only $418,000 that's come in. So at this point, there's been no need to transfer the 2.7 from the fund balance. You still have $600,000 yet that should come in your interest payments. Finish the part of grant reimbursement forms, that's $62,500. There's nothing in there for income on Founder's Day, and I think the town did receive some income on Founder's Day. It's possible that it just hasn't been completed yet. So you're showing $400,000, yet it should probably be $1 million or over by the end of the year. So there is some cash flow there. Wanted to go. I think you should. I had filed a freedom of information request about the consultants and trying to figure out who's getting paid to do what. We've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in here at consultants. And when I asked about purchasing land, Michael said, well, they didn't want to just purchase the 2.4 acres that you needed for access to the ball fields. He wanted to purchase 3 to 5 acres because he wanted to buy land for the septic field for the 5th and 6th ball fields, or whatever phase 3 and 4 is. So you're moving ahead. No one has approved. I don't think the town council has approved phase 3, phase 4, whatever. I'm sure you got something planned, but I really think you owe it to the taxpayers to tell people what you're going to do with their money. And you're not. You're going ahead buying land for some big project, and we don't know what it is. A couple things about the employees. I'm sure that you want to give nice raises and nice pay and benefits because they're your friends. Diane, you're a former employee, and I'm sure you feel very loyal to people. 3 of the 5 town employees, there was no posting for their job. Michael Grant, George Howard, Kerry Spencer, they were just hired. There was no posting for the job. Actually, we had a major referendum, big debate about converting from town administrator to a town manager. When are you going to disclose the consultants that I've asked for? I don't think you should approve the budget unless you're willing to make those disclosures as to what you're actually doing. Are you going to comply with the freedom of information?
Yes.
When?
Blake Robert.
Dwayne Crawford, 1106 NC Highway 150 West. I'm going to do this, Mark, and you're going to cut me off if you don't like what I have to say. But I want to address something that was said earlier about my citizen letter that caused somebody to do a reactive something they looked for more and they say, here's part of my letter. Thank you for your work on the newsletter, Michael. Sir. Your effort to minimize political
Wayne, we're here
is
to talk
recognized
about
as
the
mostly
budget.
successful.
We're here to
Not
talk about the budget
public
public hearing.
a copy of it to anybody in the room who wants to see it. I was accused, I'll show you what we're talking about. Okay, for years, everything is a disaster. And only this government and this council can solve the problems. We, the town, must take a property tax because it's a disaster if we don't get the sales tax. Do you guys realize what you're saying when you say that? You want to take somebody's money so you can get more of their money? Wrong. That's evil, people. It's a disaster if the town does not act to supply ball fields for the SRA. Right before you guys went to buy that property, a former SRA president came up here and said, wait 1 month. Please, just wait 1 month. I think I can solve this. We don't need to spend all this money and get stuck paying this bill. I'm talking to somebody in Northern. Mr. Copeland, John Ray's nephew, who he works for and was sitting on the council at the time, said, that's too far. SRA can't use those. But after Mr. Copeland resigned, the SRA started using Northern. There was no disaster. No disaster at all. There was always a solution. And you weren't it. You didn't have to be it, but you chose to be it. You chose to pick and choose who you favor, who you want to benefit. When this town was looking for property, we're looking for property near and far. The only two that came up for a vote were next to property owned by the former Parks and Rec chair and Mr. Williams, and beside the current Parks and Rec chair. How coincidental? Maybe. But now we're going to buy some property next to the current ball fields. I see a conflict of interest here. Water, disaster. We got to look for water. No, I don't think we need to look for water. I think we need to study our water. I think we need to drill a few wells, watch it for a few years. But I think there's a few in town that benefit if you bring a surface water solution to the town core, which by the way is going to be the only place you bring it unless you go way beyond 20 cents on the 100. And that's going to be the town core. Since 2004, we've had a few interesting individuals like our co-chair, Ms. Target, and her daughter, that bought property in the town core. Mr. Williams has been buying property in the town core. And the other co-chair happens to own large parcels, large number of parcels in the town core. I see a problem here. I don't see any disasters. I see something else going on. Thank you. And it doesn't agree with our founding principles.
Okay, we don't have any more speakers on the public hearing agenda, but do we have any other speakers out there that would like to speak? Come on up, Ron. Take your name and address and 3 minutes.
Mark Mortensen, 6110 Berkshire Trail. I'm in the textile business. Still some textile business left in the U.S. And besides the home builders, it's a tough area out there. And I think for Summerfield and every other area of the nation, that it's a time to think about needs versus wants. And I think it's time to tighten belts and look at what we really need instead of just spending money in different areas. In the big picture, you look at empires and nations. Greece fell when Alexander the Great was off fighting the war. Rome fell with Nero. Great empires and nations fall from within. And I see America falling from within, spending way beyond our means nationally, the state level, locally. The state of North Carolina didn't have money to give a grant for a park. They're spending money beyond their means. And we just need to be prudent, watch how we spend our own money, just for the sake of setting an example for the rest of the folks in the nation.
Thank you. Any other speakers for public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing at this time, and we will give to the council and the manager if you wish to, finance officer if you wish to chime in. Manager has, we've had probably a dozen more meetings since February on the budget, and we've presented the budget as it is. There's several questions that will still need to be answered tonight so that they'll be able to, or needed to be included, excluded, whatever, probably by motion prior to the budget, I think. And I think we just need to begin talking about some of those areas in general terms. Anybody have any comments in general on the budget before we go further?
I have comments. Aren't you surprised?
No.
This is today's paper. There's 3 pages of foreclosures in today's paper. I think, as I said before, that we can cut some of these things out of the budget that can be postponed. It's not an immediate need. They can be done later. One of the things is the $50,000 for the Summerfield Road focus area, AKA town core study. We were told by the manager that we'd be saving money because the consultant is coming from Wilmington. He's going to be doing the development ordinance update. so he can do that as well. I think that we can, excuse me, that we